Let's get stuck right into it now with former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, thanks for joining me. Big news just broke a couple of hours ago here. Former Trump strategist Steve Bannon has made an amazing claim here that Donald Trump will be president again after 2028. Here's what he had to say.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Now, Sean, I know we've all seen, the president go around trolling people with his Trump 2028 hats. Do you think there's any real story behind this?
So I got to be honest with you. I had Steve on my show on Friday. I asked him the same question. He gave the same answer. He believes that this is going to happen. The details are what matter. Look, I have a belief that it's got to go two ways. One, there's not a legal avenue for it to happen. And secondly, and most importantly, President Trump would want to have to do it. I think he loves being president, which is what Steve is correct about. But I have a hard time thinking that he really wants to go through this again.
Yeah, no, look, I think you're right on that, and it is, he's going to be an older gentleman by this point, and it is a fairly wearying job here. So, yeah, look, I'm with you. I think we have to sort of put this one in the maybe kind of camp.
But here's the thing, and the questioner asked the same thing I did, which is just walk me through the legal strategy. And when you tell somebody like, we don't want to get into it yet, that's telling, right? If you said that you believe that the constitutional amendment is dubious or there's this legal strategy, okay. But when you're not willing to reveal it, look, Steve has been saying this very consistently. He's a smart guy. So, like, on that front, I do always wonder if he's got something up his sleeve. But I have not been able to find a constitutional lawyer that suggests that that's possible. It's not like he started half a term. I know there's some people who I mean, look, I believe that he got robbed in his first term because of this whole false Russia hoax. Sure. But that's neither here nor there. You can't say, well, I get a do-over. So until somebody, I'm not a lawyer, but until somebody makes a legal case to me that's compelling, I find it a little dubious.
Yeah, look, I think this is one to watch. Let's keep it in the sort of the fairly dubious camp for now. But as you say, one to watch here. Hey, also wanted to ask you about this here too, though, because you're a former press secretary at the White House. And I want to get your thoughts on this savage takedown from Carolyn Leavitt to her predecessor, Karine Jean-Pierre, who is also, I believe, out there touting another book. Let's have a look at this.
Well, with all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main culprits of the greatest cover-up and scandal in American history. She took the podium every day and lied to the press about the incompetence of her boss. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history. I know Karine unfortunately worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be bitter, but being bitter will not sell you books.
And Sean, Karine Jean-Pierre hasn't been doing a great job talking about this stuff because here she was being interviewed about her cover-up tactics when it came to the decline of President Biden.
When we talk about the mental acuity, and again, I take this very, very seriously. Yeah. I never saw anyone who wasn't there. I saw someone who was always engaged. I saw someone who understood policy, pushed us on the policy.
Always there. Sean, what do you make of that?
Well, that's a lie. But, the
Yes.
reason and the marketplace, James, is what really tells you whether or not people are buying it. I want to congratulate Karine Jean-Pierre for cracking the top 25,000 in book sales in her first 24 hours. I'm not kidding when I say that. Most people, I remember when my first book debuted, I think I was in the top 15 books in the country. She's in the top 25,000. No one is buying the book. No one is buying the story. She is in a very tough place. Look, the worst part about her is she also claims she left the Democratic Party. I don't think she's sort of at an island right now trying to figure out if anybody will listen to her. I'm actually amazed that some of these news outlets have chosen to even have her on.
I mean, as a former press secretary, wouldn't it almost be better for her if she wanted to get that publicity to come clean and say, look, this guy was a mess? We all saw it.
Yeah, look, if you the excerpts that I've seen of her book right now, she's in a very weird spot because she had to pick which side, who she was going to try to get on her side. She attacks sort of a lot of the Biden establishment, claiming that they were going after her as a woman of color. Anita Dunn is one of those sort of people that she really points a finger at, and she talks about or leads. So I think she had to pick a side, James, and was like, okay, I'm going to make sure the president knows I have his back, because everybody else has thrown him under the bus, including Kamala Harris. So I'll say that he did a good and just take pot shots at the senior staff. I look, the bottom line, like I said, the marketplace is showing that no one cares what she has to say. Never mind believes her. I think it was a cheap shot for her to really go after Caroline and call her a deplorable, which is what she was responding to in that clip that you played. She was she was probably the worst press secretary in history. She was unqualified for that position in every sense of the way. Jen Psaki lied about her qualifications for it. Those guys should just walk away. They should go get a teaching job at some liberal university in America and tell war stories. But the reality is, too, here's the other dirty secret that, no one will ask her. She talks about when she saw the president. I would challenge people to ask her a simple question. How often did you ever interact with President Biden during your tenure as press secretary? Because when I was press secretary for President Trump, I bet you before noon on any given day, I interacted with him probably 10 times. I have a feeling that she didn't interact with him 10 times in a given week.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. That's what all the reports all said, was that, all the staffers were basically kept away from the president. But before I let you go, we got to talk a little bit of serious news here with the government shutdown, which is now officially the second longest in history with this stalemate. Sean, we've seen a whole bunch of fascinating things, including the president announcing that a billionaire has offered to step in and pay military salaries. Have the Democrats painted themselves into a corner with this? Because, of course, it's their votes that are stopping the government from opening back up, not the Republicans.
100%. And look, in the past 24 hours, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin offered up legislation that the Senate voted on that would pay active duty service members and what we refer to as essential personnel, meaning the folks that are being forced to work without pay. So those are your law enforcement folks, Border Patrol, TSA agents, flight control tower type folks. Those people who are working right now without pay, Senator Johnson's bill would have said, if we're forcing you to work, which the military is as well, then you get paid. Democrats all voted in lockstep to not pay them. I believe that this is an opportunity for Republicans to step up to the plate and really paint them as the crazy nut jobs that they are, because the idea that, and you hear terms from Democrats right now that said these are political stunts. Right? I don't understand how it's a political stunt to pay active duty military members, Border Patrol, TSA agents, air traffic controllers. That really shows you how little they care about these people that they purport to support and defend.
Well, indeed. I mean, Democrats for unpaid labor, I kind of feel like I've seen that before in the history books. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for joining me, as always, on the U.S. Report.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.